Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seed of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. It's time for Taroscopes. We're going to be doing the Taroscopes for the sign of Cancer. That's Cancer Sun, Cancer Moon, Cancer Rising for the month of May 2023. As before we get into the cards, I'm going to be picking an oracle card and then doing a reading. I want to look at the astrology of the month. There's a lot of things happening this month. We start with Pluto changing direction on the first day of the month, May 1st. May 1st is a powerful day in the pagan calendar. May Day, the day before, Beltane, it's a fertility festival. So this is a very fertile time, a very powerful time, a very much a time to be connected to the earth. And of course, Pluto in the sign of Aquarius is almost as far from the earth as you can get. But we do have it changing direction. And so usually when these slower moving planets change direction, we see something happen in the outer world. It could be some sort of issue around communications. It could be issues around computers because of the Aquarius connection. It could be something to do with the something from outer space. So I know that recently there's been a lot of activity with coronal mass ejections and the sun being at the peak of a cycle, and they've been seeing northern lights as far down as New England, and I know there was some seen in Oregon. So there's a lot of activity within the atmosphere. We also have now, as a Cancer, you're ruled by the moon. So what happens to the moon is usually pretty significant. The moon changes every 2.5 days. So, sometimes you're like, well, so every 2.5 days, it's something new with the Cancer, right? But we are in eclipse season, and we do have a full moon eclipse in the sign of Scorpio, and the sun being in Taurus. That Taurus Scorpio axis for you is your 5th house, and your 11th house, your house of is it 5th and 11th? Yeah. So it's the house of love. So something can can unfold for you in love relationships or in creativity, perhaps the 5th house, 11th house. We have, besides Pluto changing direction, we have Mercury changing direction this month. It starts the month retrograde in Taurus. And for you guys, that would be your 11th house. So there can be some issues around, just want to make sure I'm seeing this right. Taurus, yeah. So the 11th house, there can be some issues around friends, misunderstanding in groups, and the like. But on the 14th, it changes direction and it starts to move forward in Taurus. And so things start to clear up. It's not actually out of its shadow until the beginning of June. So things don't actually really clear up until then. We also have a number of planets changing signs. We have Venus moving from Gemini into Cancer. That happens on the 7th, I believe. Yes. We also have Mars moving into Leo. That occurs on the 20th. And the interesting thing about that is, so the beginning of the month, Mars is in Cancer. It's been in Cancer for a while now. And Mars doesn't really like being in Cancer, but for the Cancer, with Mars is in Cancer, we can have an increased vitality. So there's that. Once it moves into Leo, it moves into that 2nd house, and we can start working towards maybe accumulating resources or utilizing resources or becoming more aware of your resources or working with the resources that you have. We also have Jupiter changing signs. Jupiter moves out of Aries and moves into Taurus. This is good for Cancers. This is good for Cancers because Taurus is a sign that sort of lines up well with Cancer, brings opportunities, opportunities for conversation, opportunities for learning, opportunities to help fulfilling our curiosity about things. There is the issue at hand, however, this month, and it's not just a Cancer issue, it's just a general issue for all of us, is that Pluto changes direction at the beginning of the month. So it's sitting there at that degree and moving very, very slowly now out, going backwards. When Mars moves into Leo on the 20th, it opposes Pluto. When Jupiter moves into Taurus on is it the 14th? On the 16th, it squares Pluto. So we have a Pluto, which is stationary, squaring Jupiter moving into Taurus, and then a few days later, Mars comes in and creates a T-square. Now that is actually on the nodes of the moon. So we're at a revolutionary crossroads. And of course, Pluto is square the nodes and will be square the nodes for a while, probably most of the year, not exact until I believe July, it's actually exact. But that means we're at an evolutionary crossroads as humanity, and we have to choose which direction we want to go into. And so we're all going to be in this place where we're going to be choosing to move into a new vibration or to stay stuck in the old one. And if you stay stuck in the old one, chances are that's the vibration of fear and closing down instead of opening up to the possibilities of life. So that's something we're all going to experience, I think. We also have a new moon in Taurus. It's at 28 degrees of Taurus. It's on Caput Algol. Chances are more heads will be rolling because of that. Not necessarily for you, but that is in your second house. New moon in your second house is opportunities for resources, to bring resources in and the like. So that actually may actually be good for Cancer. The sun then moves into Gemini. Gemini is your 12th house. So you might start feeling, and that happens on the 20th of May, you might start hearing things, dreaming things. There's more communication with the other side when the sun moves through the 12th house. It also brings up our own self-undoing. So we can see things that perhaps we need to do differently when the sun moves through Gemini. I think that's all I want to say. There's a lot going on. If you really want to know what's going to be going on in the month of May, I would suggest you check out my Astrology and Kabbalah of May, which should come out within the next day or so, because that's a broader view for everybody. So before we do the tarot, I'm going to be using the Wildwood Tarot deck. This is the book that comes with it, but we're not going to use the book. I just wanted to show it to you. It's a beautiful deck. Before we get there, we're going to pull an oracle card. I've been using this oracle deck for all the readings, and this is the Soulflower Plant Spirit Oracle by Lisa Estabrook. Okay, I picked this up when I picked up the Starseed Oracle, and last month I used the Starseed Oracle. This month I used the Soulflower. I figured 1 month we look to the stars for the seeds of transformation, and this month we look to the earth for the seeds of transformation. All right, let's get started. Let's get it started. Right. What does Cancer need to be aware of? What advice do you have, Plant Spirit Oracle, for Cancer? Okay. Hawthorn, courage. Courage, courage. You know, it's funny, I have a shirt that I bought years ago in P-Town, and it says courage on it, because I felt like I wasn't all that courageous. So I needed to be reminded to be courageous. And I am a Cancer, so we're courageous in other ways, I think. We'll jump into a fray. Sometimes not a good idea, but if somebody's hurting somebody we love, that's it. Hold my beer kind of thing. You jump in. Oh goodness. Okay, so let's see what it says here. I'm going to hold this up because it's such a pretty card. Hawthorn is medicine for the heart on all levels, helping you find courage to face and overcome your fears, and facilitating self-love and self-acceptance. Hawthorn supports a strong and protected open heart state, allowing you to fully give and receive love so that you can truly come into your own divine strength and power. And then there's a little bit more I'll read here. It says the lessons for Hawthorn, that's hard to say, by the way, for me anyway, are not the easiest. They can be sharp and painful, but facing our fears, overcoming our fears, and even just recognizing and acknowledging our fears is where deep personal growth and healing occurs. The wisdom of our hearts is going to take us down the path of least resistance. It is the wisdom of the heart is not going to take us down the path of least resistance. Isn't that the truth? Gee, that's why I had to read it over again. I said, I think I missed a word. I did. It is instead going to take us on a journey to enable our biggest growth. Growth is challenging. Feeling and feeling deeply is unavoidable. Whether we are feeling joy or pain, we have to feel it all. And let me tell you, can't just feel it all. Growth in life itself is a process of allowing our hearts to lead the way. Won't eliminate our fears, but it will transform them. Having the courage to open and follow our hearts allow us to act on our intuitive impulses, our messages direct from source as we receive them. Heart-inspired action will never lead us astray. Hawthorn is asking you to recognize and face your fears head on so that you can move through them. It's perhaps the most sacred acts to be scared and yet to follow your heart anyway. I have to say, that's been true in my life. All right, so let's see what the cards have to say for Cancer, Cancer Sun, Cancer Moon, and Cancer Rising. Oops, we got stuff flying already, flying out of the deck already. All right, let me give it a good shuffly, buffly here. Doesn't it seem like everything is like going at breakneck speed? That's all right, we're along for the ride. Put your canoe in the water and go with the flow. Always. One second. Smile. I think I drink out of that to remind myself. So we're in a process of healing. And so if you're not in the process of, or if you haven't availed yourself to healing opportunities, whether they be through traditional medicine or non-traditional medicine, this is the month to do it. This is the month to really focus on your own healing. Let's see what challenges that. We have the Ancestor here. This is the Hierophant card. There's resistance to tradition here. This is definitely my reading, by the way. Resistance, and then also the necessity to listen to that small, still voice within. If you have an inkling, right? Say you're going along and you're like, ooh, that's a weird pain, or I wonder why that, or why am I thinking this, or why am I thinking that? Let go along with that. Your spirit and body are trying to tell you something, so it's time to listen. See what's underneath it all. We have the wren, and for any of you who follow me every morning, I don't think there's a morning that I go out there in the garden where the wren isn't screeching its head off, but the wren is really an energy of being heard. This is the Page of Arrows. This is about being heard. This is about being heard. This is listening to the messages that are coming to you. And again, we have this energy of listening to what's coming into your head, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense at the moment. We still have to pay attention. In the past, we have the Three of Stones. This is creativity. This is a stability card, creating stability. You have worked hard to create the stability and to create the roots in your life. And this could also include your family, how important your family is to you. In the sky, we have the Five of Bows, the Five of Bows. This is change. Five is always about change. This is about opportunity. There is a certain amount of chaos associated with this card, but also, as you can see, quite a bit of fertility as well. So it's a fertile, creative time for you, but it is a time of a little bit of, or a lot of bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit of chaos, a little bit of like things are happening and you have to like do stuff in the moment. You have to be courageous in the moment. We have in the immediate future, we have boredom. This is the Four of Cups. This is divine discontent. This is not being satisfied with the situation you find yourself in. And so you're in this situation where things aren't quite feeling fulfilling, and then you look out into the world and you see chaos. What do you do? What do you do? How it's seen from the outside, you're seen as a bucket of love, the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Cups. You're seen as compassionate, loving, healing. You're seen as the healer that you are. Your domestic situation. Ooh, we have the King of Arrows. This is the hawk. Here, the hawk sees with the eyes of God. The hawk sees the big picture and the small details at the same time. You need to pay attention to the big picture and the small details this month in order for you to know how to move forward. So it's real important that you both look at things on a sort of a realistic day-to-day level, but also have a vision, a bigger vision for your life. Let's see, hopes and fears. We have the Eight of Vessels here, the Eight of Cups. In this deck, it's rebirth. It's not walking away from things that no longer fulfilling. So we're hoping for a rebirth. There's always a rebirth. The outcome is the Stag. The Stag is the strength card. As above, so below. As you sow, so shall you reap. If you have done your due diligence, you are going to be rewarded for it. This is also an energy of speaking your mind or speaking your truth. So it's important that you speak from the core of yourself and from your heart, and not be afraid to say what you need to say. Underneath it all, we have the Page of Vessels. This is the Page of Cups. Playful energy, fun energy. So that you have a little fun this month. The Seven of Bows. This is about spending some of the time this month to clear out things in your life that are not useful. You know, those few things that you're saving in the drawer because you're going to fix them. You're not going to fix them. Send them off, send them on. Let go of the things that are not, you can't utilize, or that you won't ever have the time to fix, to utilize. And then we have the Queen of Stones here, the Bear. This is a ferocity in this card, but it's about sort of waking up and sniffing the air. It's time for you to wake up and get out into the wider world and be courageous and be ferocious if you need to be. Because there is something that you need to say and you need to be heard. The page here, the Wren at the bottom of the reading, that you have wisdom to share, and it's important that you share it. But you have to be courageous enough to step out and do it, and be willing to a certain extent for not everybody to agree with you, and perhaps not everybody to like you because of what you're saying. But it needs to be said anyway. All right, well, that's what I see for Cancer. I hope this is helpful for you. Have yourself a wonderful month. I'll see you again next month in June for these Taroscopes for June for Cancer. Until then, have a wonderful creative, courageous month. If you are interested in having a reading with me, I do have availability for that. I have two options. These are astrology, Kabbalah, and numerology readings. I have an hour reading and I have an hour and a half reading. If it's your first reading, I prefer the hour and a half. I do try to keep them relatively reasonable, but of course, I understand it's always a commitment. It's always a financial commitment. So I appreciate when you do that. You can follow me or you can support me on Patreon. You can become one of my patrons, or you can just give me a like and a thumbs up, and you can share my videos. That also helps to get me out there and to so I can do more of my work and share more of what I feel as a Cancer is important to say. So help me with that one. All right. Have yourself a wonderful month. I'll see you next month. Take care, everyone. Namaste.